Hello ladies, how's it going? Alright, so excuse any background noise. There's a lot of people in here right now. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so today I'm going to do a video for you guys on something called resistance starch. Okay, so adding this is extremely simple, yet it's really effective method in nudging your results along. Okay, so this is reserved for more advanced protocols, people who need those fine-tuning tweaks to advance fat loss and competition prep and stuff like that, okay? And what it does is it enhances that process while also enhancing your fat loss and health, okay? Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, it's the morning. I haven't quite had enough coffee yet, so we'll see how this goes, okay? So we're gonna go through what is it, what are the benefits of it, and how do you implement it into your diet. You'll be happy to know that I've already taken the liberty of implementing it into most of your plans as an example. So if you guys have followed that to a T, which you don't have to, but if you have, then you've already been exposed to it a little bit, okay? So basically, most of the carbs in your diet, as you know, will come from a starchy source. So not all of these starches are fully digested though, right? So some are resistant to this process. They act in a similar way to soluble fiber in your body. This is resistant starch, okay? So what are the benefits of resistant starch? Why am I paying attention to it? Why am I talking about it, sorry. So number one is improved insulin sensitivity, all right? Which is always good. We want to be more efficient in our release of insulin in the body, allows you to absorb carbohydrates more efficiently, putting it in the right places into your muscle instead of those fat cells, all right? Especially around that lower body. Lower base blood sugar, okay? With habitual intake of resistant starch, you're going to improve your blood sugar levels not only overall, but after meals. Reduced appetite, okay, is a big one, and favorable gut bacteria, which I'll get into in just a second, okay? So in reality, there's about 4 different kinds of resistant starch out there. We're going to focus on type 3, okay, which is found in things like potatoes and rice and plantains after they have been cooked and cooled. It's in raw potatoes as well, but you're not really going to munch on a raw potato like an apple, are you? All right? Okay? So in all of these sources, there's obviously different forms of resistant starch contained within them, but these foods are primarily type 3. All right? So what happens when you cook and you cool these food sources is it converts a large amount of the starch within that source to resistant starch, right? So bananas, for example, when they're green, they have a very high amount of resistant starch in them. But when they begin to ripen and stuff like that, okay, so they get all brown and things, the resistant starch actually reverses and it converts it into more glucose-based sugars, okay? So this is the opposite of that cooking process. Just to keep that in mind for you, okay? So after you've cooked it and cooled it, there's going to be up to 50% more resistant starch contained in that food than there would be if you had not cooled it, if you just served it hot, okay? So that's pretty potent. It's a big deal when we get down to the nitty-gritty and I'm taking you through the final phases of fat loss, or, okay, I'm trying to get the other benefits out of it, which I'll go through in a second, all right? So what is the process when we're looking at resistant starch? Well, it goes to the stomach, obviously, because you're going to eat it. All right, moves through the small intestine, undigested, okay, and then it reaches the colon, where it feeds on the good bacteria of the gut. Most of the food that you intake, right, feeds about 10% of your good gut bacteria. That's not that much, and most people only eat, most of those foods, those outside foods. But when you eat things like fermentable fibers and resistant starch, that feeds the other 90% of your good gut bacteria, right? So resistant starch will drastically help in rebuilding a healthy gut if that's something that you need to work on, which pretty much, honestly, everybody needs to do, okay? So what are the benefits to you in the big picture? Okay, so like I said before, blood sugar and insulin sensitivity. After a meal, okay, containing a high amount of resistant starch, your blood sugar is going to be regulated far more efficiently, okay? So throughout the day, at rest, when you're sleeping, and even right after those meals, okay? Now, resistant starch drastically increases overall insulin sensitivity as well by 30 to 50%, which is huge, okay? After about 4 weeks of consuming just 15 to 30 grams a day, which is fairly easy to get even just from Whole Foods, okay? So, now, there's something called the second meal effect when we're looking at resistant starch. So, here is a theoretical model for you. You eat resistant starch contained foods, okay? So let's say you've cooked and cooled 300 grams of sweet potato, okay? 300 grams raw weight of sweet potato, okay? So there's gonna be a certain amount of resistant starch in there. You eat that meal, okay? So say this is meal number 3 in your day. Then in meal 4, okay, you eat a meal containing sugar or simple carbs or basically something that has a low resistant starch content, okay? Even just throw out some low-fat ice cream there, okay? Not that all of you should be eating that. Okay. Now, in meal 4, after you've eaten that resistant starch in meal 3, in meal 4, your insulin spike and blood sugar rise will be far less. It will be far lower than it would be normally. Okay. So this allows you to absorb those carbohydrates in meal 4 far more efficiently. Okay. You don't have to release as much insulin. Your blood sugar does not go as high as it would before. Your body, instead of doing this, boom, up and down, okay, with a massive insulin spike and spike in blood sugar that stays elevated, it will be much more regulated, okay? Now, there are times when you do really want a massive insulin spike, and I will get into that, okay, in future videos, but for now, for overall, for health, for fat loss, this is extremely important, okay? This can benefit you in a massive way. So, how can it further aid in fat loss after that? Okay, well, like I said, it's not fully digestible. So what does that mean? Well, it means you don't actually absorb all the calories contained in these starches, right? Because they act as a fiber in the body. They actually really only contain 2 active calories per gram versus 4 calories per gram in a normal carbohydrate source. Okay, just give white bread or sugar as an example. All right, so that's pretty big as well. That will add up over the long run, okay, to aiding your fat loss while still eating the same amount of food. Okay, we can make some sweet food substitutions at certain times of the day to really boost your results. Now, the more resistant starch you consume, the fewer calories you're actually going to absorb from that food, okay, and the better you're going to absorb the other foods in your diet because your gut bacteria is going to be optimized, okay, and your insulin sensitivity and blood sugar is going to be regulated far more efficiently. Combine this with the potent appetite suppressing effects, right, making you feel fuller for longer off of smaller amounts, and you have a pretty wicked fat loss process going in there, okay? So how do we add it into your diet? Well, it should be pretty obvious, but I prefer to get it from whole foods, okay, rather than supplements. You can get it from supplements fairly easily, right, but there's something about just putting a fiber powder in the water after you're probably already taking a fiber supplement and downing it that just is way less appealing to me than potatoes for some reason. It's crazy, right? Yeah, no. So we can get it from whole foods. So cooked and cooled potatoes, and you can reheat those, okay? So you can cook them, cool them in the fridge overnight, and then reheat them the next day. That's fine too, okay? Cooked and cooled rice, same thing. Various legumes, green bananas, plantain, cashews, okay, are another source. You have to be careful there with the fat content and stuff. Just, you know, track your macros. Raw oats as well. So if you're putting raw oats in a shake or something like that, it's a great source of resistant starch, right? So, longer video, but what is the bottom line here? What we want to do is we want to improve your gut health, which will reduce inflammation. Now, what happens when we reduce overall chronic inflammation in the body? Well, you're going to improve your mood, your neurotransmitters, you're going to be training harder, okay? You're going to be speeding fat loss and enhancing your detox process. Right? It's a win, 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 win. Right? Okay, and it's going to control your appetite, improve your blood sugar panels, and improve your insulin sensitivity, which we talked about. You know exactly why that's important. Okay? So, this is why many of you will see this in your plans already. It's awesome. Try it out. If you haven't yet, implement it into your diets, okay? See if you start to feel a little bit different after 2 to 3 weeks. Even just 1 to 2 meals a day, okay? Including a source of resistant starch in a decent amount, right? Okay, guys, so that was on resistant starch. I'll be back at you tomorrow with some more content. I got videos, I got guides coming, I got just posts coming, okay? It really depends on this type of content that I'm putting out to you, right? And also, down below this video, okay, because I'm going to post this up in the group, if you have specific questions, post them, ask them. I will post up videos exactly like this, okay? I'll take care of you, I'll answer you. And, you know, always personal message me as well if you need any help whatsoever, all right? Awesome. So I hope everybody goes and kills their day, and I will see you tomorrow.